Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
GSMC Baseball Podcast. Big welcome into the show. Today we dive deep. Deeper we dive into the full Major League standings predictions I have, specifically the American League East. This one will be a lot of fun because it closes out our standings projections, closes out the predictions. We'll go over the big predictions as a whole. We'll go over the division as a whole in terms of the American League East. The American League East can arguably be the most historical division because of the Yankees and Red Sox. The Tampa Bay Rays have been competitive. The Blue Jays won back-to-back titles in the 90s. The Orioles had Cal Ripken. This is a really popular division. This is a really important division in baseball. So let's not waste any time. Let's talk about the American League East. We'll do my ranges. We'll do my projections. Let's start at the bottom. First, I want to give you the PECOTA standings for these teams. Obviously, the PECOTA projections. Baltimore Orioles, 62 and 99, 62 and 100. The projection by PECOTA for the Baltimore Orioles, and Roto World has them as a 61 and 101 team. This was a team that won 54 games a year ago. They were horrible. They were horrid. They were bad. They were the Orioles. Again, they were the Oh-No's, not the Orioles. It was just all bad for Baltimore last season, and they did not do much to get better in the offseason. You take a look at the roster, and it's not great. Renato Nunez is their cleanup hitter, a 758 potential OPS guy. There's a lot of people that are probably not even going to get to 700 OPS. Chris Davis is still in this lineup. Jose Iglesias, sure. Alex Cobb is in the rotation. That's a name. Asher Wojciechowski, Wade LeBlanc. You get the picture. It's not very pretty for the Baltimore Orioles. It's a roster that's down there with the Miami Marlins. It's a roster that's down there with the other bad teams in this league, like the Detroit Tigers. Michael Givens is all right in the bullpen, but all right is about it for him. No depth, no bench, no lineup, not a good rotation. And honestly, I'm reading Orioles websites, and they're talking about 2022. Not even 2021, 2022 for this Baltimore Orioles team. They are in a bad spot as an organization. My range of wins for them this year, I'm going to go 55 as the low. I don't know why. They had 54 last year. Should probably put that a little bit lower, but I'll be nice. 55 wins the low. 75 wins the high for the Baltimore Orioles, and 75 is about where I put it when you're this bad, because you never know if you can win a bunch of one-run games randomly, if there's some prospects I don't know about. But 75, honestly, would be incredible. Honestly, that ceiling should probably be more 70, and the low should be more around 50. But I like to be a little bit generous, and it's really hard to predict 50 wins. But 55 to 75, I think that 57 and 105 will end up being the record. I think they get 3 more wins this year, just because I'm being nice to the Baltimore Orioles. But you can look at this roster yourself. Sometimes baseball makes it pretty easy on you in terms of predicting. And I put the Orioles on the list of teams that you can cross off in terms of potential to win a division, to win anything, to get even close to the playoffs. So you can cross them off for the World Series. Certainly the Baltimore Orioles, and I think Orioles fans would readily admit that. Let's go ahead and move to the Blue Jays, the other team I have near the bottom of this division, and that will save us the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Yankees. We'll do one segment each for the Rays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees, but the Blue Jays and Orioles together here in this first segment. The Blue Jays, 76 and 86, the prediction by PECOTA, 75 and 87 by Roto World. That's not bad. They are miles ahead of the Baltimore Orioles, are the Toronto Blue Jays. And I think there's some real hope in this lineup. I mean, you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's one of the best prospects and most exciting prospects in Major League Baseball. I think he can be an MVP-type hitter in this league. I think Kevon Biggio, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., I think there's some boppers in this lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays. And in the rotation, is it horrible? Hyunjin Ryu, Chase Anderson, Tanner Roark, these guys are all right. Matt Shoemaker dealing with some injuries. It's not bad from the Blue Jays. There's some potential in the lineup. The rotation can be all right. I love Ken Giles out of the bullpen, Anthony Bass, Jordan Romano. It's not horrible whatsoever from the Blue Jays. They feel like a around 500 team. They feel like a team that has upside because there's some upside bats in the lineup. They could score a bunch of runs, win a bunch of games that way. And that makes me a little bit more excited about the Blue Jays than the Orioles. You should be way more excited about the Blue Jays than the Orioles. But there's not enough quality on this team to ensure that they are going to be near 500. There are worlds where they fall below 70 wins. So I put my floor for this Toronto Blue Jays team at 68 wins. And that floor is Vlad Jr. is just not doing it. And he's a real key to that lineup. And him falling off kind of causes everybody else not to be in a rhythm. They don't really score many runs because the lineup has the potential to score a lot of runs. It also has the potential to putter out and be 20th or 21st ranked offense in the league. And that's not a good sign. And the rotation's not good enough to carry a bad offense. No way, no how. And it could be a 68-win team. However, prospects click. Vlad Jr. looks really good. Everything goes right for this Blue Jays squad. Rotation stays a little bit healthy. Ryu has a really good year. The bullpen clicks. They find a random veteran that works out. They win one-run games. They could be an 85-win ball club. The Toronto Blue Jays certainly on the table. Where I think they'll finish, 78 and 84. Which is not bad for a team that looks to be trending upwards. And I think the Blue Jays in this competitive division with the Red Sox, Rays, and Yankees having a lot of talent, 78 and 84 wouldn't be bad at all. And, because you're competitive. You're playing competitive games in August if you're the Toronto Blue Jays. You have a really exciting prospect. You feel like you make some moves for some rotation pieces. You develop a couple prospects well. You're about 1 or 2 years away from being really competitive in this division again. Not a bad fate for the Toronto Blue Jays whatsoever. Not a bad fate at all for the Toronto Blue Jays finishing at 78 and 84. So the Orioles at 57 and 105, the Blue Jays at 78 and 84. Those are the bottom two teams in this American League East. The Red Sox, the Rays, and the Yankees will be the top three teams in this division. How will it shake out? I still have the rest of the division to break down. We'll put one segment onto each of those teams, and then we'll talk about my predictions as a whole throughout Major League Baseball, just to summarize what's been a really, really fun few weeks on the show where we talk about this exact topic. You're watching, well, you're not watching. You're listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast. On the other side of the break, we'll talk Red Sox. It's pretty easy to sell Red Sox stock right now, but you might want to hold on to it. This is the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Mookie Betts traded, under investigation, new manager. The Red Sox are an absolute mess. And it's super easy in this division to sell your stock on the Boston Red Sox. You could do it. It's trending in the wrong direction. The Red Sox don't look good. The fans hate the ownership group. People think they might sell the team. And it's just an absolute mess to a lot of people that follow the Boston Red Sox. There's not a lot of hope. Mookie Betts is out the door, heading to Los Angeles. Rough for the Boston Red Sox. It's tough to see. Really easy to sell that stock. And listen, I wouldn't get mad at you whatsoever if you sold Boston Red Sox stock right now. I wouldn't get mad at you if you think this Red Sox team will tank, will fall all the way down to fourth place in this division. I wouldn't get mad at you if you want to make your prediction, the Toronto Blue Jays finishing above the Boston Red Sox. I wouldn't get mad at you. I understand why you're selling this stock, but I'm not going to. It's easy for me to say, well, they lost a manager, traded their best player, ownership group doesn't look too invested. That'll affect the rest of the team, and this team's just going to tank. It's a really easy prediction. In fact, it's a prediction that you kind of lean into when you first think about this. But I'm a guy that likes to look through the roster. I'm a guy that likes to sit, really think about it, and understand the history of trading really successful players. And Mookie Betts is an unprecedented trade, so it's really hard to compare. But will the loss of Mookie Betts be a game changer for the Boston Red Sox? In a way, yes. I think it harms their ability to be competitive in October. I think it reduces their ceiling, which would have been probably 95, 96 wins. Probably brings it down to maybe 94-ish. We'll talk about my ceiling just a little bit. But this is some serious talent on this squad. I mean, I hope that the team, this is what I hope. This is kind of what my prediction relies on. The team's going to rally around being doubted without Mookie Betts. Mookie's gone. Red Sox are selling. New manager. You guys all suck. You're not going to make the playoffs. Forget about it. And the entire team, Benintendi, Devers, Bogarts, Martinez, Moreland, they all say, hey, guys, we're better than this. We're good. We can win without Mookie. We love Mookie. We miss Mookie. Wish he were here, but he's not. Let's pull together and win some ball games. Because those names I just named in the lineup, pretty good names. Benintendi, Devers, both guys could be over 800 OPS. Bogarts could be over 900 OPS. JD Martinez could have 1,000 OPS season. Mitch Moreland's not bad. Vasquez is not bad. Jackie Bradley, you kidding me? Ninth in that lineup? All these are good bats. Solid bats. Solid lineup. They can score a lot of runs, and if the ball flies out of the ballpark a little more than you expect in Boston, whether a little bit of luck, winds blowing on the right certain day, this lineup could be really good in the American League. And I still like the rotation. Chris Sale's at the top of it. Eduardo Rodriguez, Nathan Eovaldi, Martin Perez, Matt Hall. Now, can they stay healthy? I don't know. But to me, that's a solid rotation. You've got ace potential. You've got a good middle, great back end. Matt Hall could have a 4 ERA this year. Right? They'll piece together that fifth spot in the rotation. I mean, Matt Hall's a guy that might not get a lot of innings, but that fifth spot in the rotation could be about a 4 ERA guy. You have an inning eater in Rodriguez. Bullpen's pretty good as well for Boston. Workman, Barnes, Taylor, Walden, Brazier, Brewer. Good enough. Hernandez. It isn't an elite bullpen, but it's a bullpen that if it plays well, plays to its potential, isn't forced into a lot of really rough, high-leverage situations because the lineup's a little better than you thought, the rotation's a little better than you thought. Serviceable bullpen. Bullpen that could win 90-plus games, certainly. And to me, I read that roster, I understand the negative headlines, and I think it's almost a good thing for Boston. It's why I said on this show that Boston should trade Mookie Betts before the season if they're going to do it. Why? Because Mookie Betts being on this roster, yet certainly being traded, would almost be worse for the team. Because now, Rob Rennicky, who's made the playoffs before in Milwaukee, as the new manager, could come together and say, Cora's in the past. Betts is in the past. They are gone. We focus on us. We focus on this season. We were disappointing with 84 wins a year ago. We can be better. Let's be better. And I think the Red Sox will be better this year. I think they'll be better than 84 wins. And it's crazy to say that they'll get better without Mookie Betts, but it was crazy to say that the Washington Nationals would get better without Bryce Harper. Yet what'd they do? Win the World Series. Just because you lose a star player in baseball does not mean you're left for dead. It's only true in basketball. It's not true in world soccer. It's not true in football. It's definitely not true in baseball. As much as I love Mookie, as valuable as I think he'll be for what I believe is the best team in Major League Baseball in the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think his departure from Boston is a bad thing. I think it limits their ceiling. I think this team could have been a really good team with Mookie Betts in it, a team that was really competitive in this division with the New York Yankees. But I don't think it kills them. I don't think it puts them below 500. There's a world that exists where they fall below 500, where there's too much chaos. Mookie being sold kind of gets the team to say, well, they don't really think we can win, so let's not actually win. And they fall all the way to 79, 78 wins. That's my floor for this Boston team, 79 wins. But my ceiling, Bogarts hits. Benintendi hits his ceiling. Martinez hits his ceiling. Chris Sale is a Cy Young candidate. Evaldi can eat some more innings up. All these things are certainly possible. They are realistic ifs for the Boston Red Sox. If all those things happen, plus they win some one-run games, they have a little bit more luck than they had a year ago. Boston Red Sox, they could be a 95-win team. Last year, -3 in the luck quotient, according to Baseball Reference. That's compared to the Pythagorean win-loss. Imagine if that flips to +3, plus you have guys performing a little bit better than they did a year ago. All of a sudden, you're getting up to 92, 93, 94, 95 wins. So 95 wins, the absolute ceiling. 79 wins, the absolute floor for the Boston Red Sox. And I think they'll finish at 90 and 72. That's a good record. That's a record that will get Boston fans to hop back on board with this ownership group. This ownership group that's been the most successful in baseball since I've been watching it. I've been watching baseball since 2004. Red Sox have won more World Series than anybody. 4. They've been awfully impressive. They've done it in multiple years, multiple eras. I don't think they're a World Series team, but 90 wins puts them in competition for the wild card. It makes them interesting in this division. And I think that there'll be the whole world is doubting us. The whole world says we can't do it without Mookie. Let's band together. Let's get this thing done. And I like the Boston Red Sox this year to win 90 games. Where does that put them in the division race, though? The Yankees are winning this division. I'll tell you that right now. But do the Rays or Red Sox finish in second? We talk about that on the other side of the break. You're listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Talking American League East, GSMC Baseball Podcast. Tampa Bay Rays, will they finish above 90 wins? Let's talk about it. Okay? The Tampa Bay Rays last season, 96 and 66 in 2019. Really good. They were 5th in Major League Baseball in terms of record and one-run games. They are a great organization that always seems to figure it out. It's hard to doubt the Rays as much as a lot of teams want to. They have good projection numbers this year. Pacoda has them as an 87 and 75 win team. Roto-World has them in 90 and 72. Good projections across the board for the Tampa Bay Rays. They are a solid ball club. Always have been, usually are. They're a really solid organization. They've got some really good players on this team. They lost Tommy Pham over the offseason. They lost his starting pitcher. They were 5th in Major League Baseball in one-run games. But they have talent filling in the void. And they're the Rays, so that talent always seems to, at least in a lot of people's eyes, work out. And it's hard not to trust the Tampa Bay Rays. Problem is, I don't trust it. This team is nowhere close to the New York Yankees. Not in the lineup, not in the rotation, not in the bullpen. Nowhere close. There's no way they fight for this division. I really don't think there's any way the Red Sox or the Blue Jays or the Orioles, obviously, don't fight with the Yankees for this division. This feels really clear for the New York Yankees. Even with Severino out, they didn't have Severino last year. Only had 12 starts, still 100-plus games. Yankees have added talent. They added Garrett Cole. The Yankees are going to be the American League East champion. It would be shocking if they weren't. Almost to the same level, it would be shocking if the Dodgers weren't in the National League West. It would be shocking to me if the Astros weren't in the American League West. I think the Yankees are the clear favorite in this division. I think they're the best team. The Rays aren't close to that. You look at their lineup, Austin Meadows is the guy that stands out, the outfielder. 884 OPS projected by Roto-World. We'll see if he gets to 900 this year. Solid. Hunter Renfroe's pretty good. Jose Martinez, pretty solid. Yandy Diaz, pretty solid. Brandon Lowe leading off, pretty solid. A lot of solid from the Tampa Bay Rays. A lot of solid in the rotation, too. Charlie Morton, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow. A lot of solid in that rotation. Problem with Charlie Morton, he's 36. So he could fall right off the table this year. Now, Charlie Morton, he's not a guy that I expect to fall off the table, but he certainly could. Blake Snell, also in this rotation. He's turning 27, hitting his prime. He could get better after a 4.29 ERA last year. So certainly a chance there. Glasnow, Chirinos, Yarbrough. We'll see how they develop in the back end for the Tampa Bay Rays. In the bullpen, solid, not blow me away. Alvarado, Anderson, Castilla, Covey, fine. Solid. Again, just solid. Solid is the word I keep using for the Rays because that's what they are. They're just there. Good team. Solid roster. Solid organization. Probably going to figure out a way to win a lot of games. But I'm just not impressed. They don't have the same type of pop, same type of oomph. They lost their heart in Tommy Pham. They lost another starter. It feels like they're relying on the fact that they are a solid organization to fill in a lot of holes in what I think can be a really competitive division with the Blue Jays and the Red Sox and the Yankees. And that kind of worries me about the Tampa Bay Rays. They're not close to the Yankees. I don't think they'll be competitive in this division in terms of the top. They'll be competitive with the Red Sox for second place, but I don't think the Tampa Bay Rays are the second-place team in this division. I think they finish below the Boston Red Sox. My floor for them, 77 wins. My ceiling, only 92. I just don't see it in this roster, being a 95, 96-win team. They had a lot of good luck go their way. 5th in Major League Baseball in one-run games last year. I don't see 96 again. Don't see it. It's just not there. It's not on the roster. It's not in the lineup. It's not in the rotation. Really good. A lot of really good. Not a lot of great. More great in Boston. Right? More higher ceilings in Boston than in Tampa Bay. And Rays fans are probably screaming at the top of their lungs, not like a lot of them go to the ball games, but Rays fans are screaming at the top of their lungs, oh, everybody says this, and we don't have a lot of great. It's just because they're not talked about it. But look at the numbers. It's not a lot of blow me away great. A lot of good. Really, tons of good. A lot of good. A lot of good's great. But not a lot of great. And so I have their floor at 77, their ceiling at 92, and to me, the Tampa Bay Rays finish at 84 and 78 in third place in this division. I could see them going to 92 and being one of the upper tier teams in the division, finishing certainly above the Boston Red Sox. It's on the table. Not going to rule it out. But I think they'll fall off a little bit this year. They'll lose more one-run games than you thought. They'll go through some lulls. Not a lot of reliable depth. Face some injuries. 84-78 for the Tampa Bay Rays. And that's not a bad thing, though, because they can make a few more moves, flip this, move into next year, pick up another starter a year from now, add a bat, develop some guys, and be at the top of this division. That's certainly possible for the Tampa Bay Rays. And what they've been able to do over the past few years and in the last decade has been awfully impressive. And it's hard for me to count out the Tampa Bay Rays for as much success as they've had, but to me, they're an 84-win team. And maybe I'm a big market bias guy. I really don't think so, but maybe I am. I just don't feel it from the Tampa Bay Rays in 2020. 84 wins. 84 wins. It's not bad to be solid, right? It's not bad to have a decent apartment. It's not bad to have a decent car. It's not bad to have 84 wins and be competitive in September, fighting for a wild card spot. That's not a bad thing. But there's just not a lot of great things on this Tampa Bay Rays team. We'll talk about the Yankees, where they'll finish, how good they'll be, and then we'll dive into the full standings breakdown on the other side of the break. You're listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Welcome back into the show. Time to talk about the New York Yankees. And then we'll have the whole standings projections. We'll go all through it, and that'll be the end of the show today. Spring training up and rolling. Astros getting plunked left and right. We knew that was going to happen. And, yeah, it's been an interesting spring so far. Not a lot of big headlines to talk about. One of the bigger headlines to talk about was about the team we are about to project. That's the New York Yankees, who won 103 games last year, with this guy only making 12 starts. They thought they were going to have Severino at the top of this rotation, and they would be one of the best teams in Major League Baseball. They'll still be one of the best teams in Major League Baseball, but now they will be without Severino, who has to undergo Tommy John surgery. Instead, the poor Yankees will just be left with Garrett Cole, the highest paid pitcher in history, at the top of the rotation. Wah, wah, poor New York Yankees. Although poor Yankees didn't even make a World Series in the 2010s. It's really interesting. First decade that has happened for the New York Yankees. Will this decade be the decade that's different for New York? We'll talk about that in just a little bit. 103 wins last year. PECOTA has them as a 99-win team. RotoWorld has them as a 98-win team. And I think that's pretty close. I think this is a really great team. I think this is a team that if everything goes right, they're 110 wins. 88 wins, probably the floor. I don't see them really falling below that. There's just so much talent here. It's almost unfair. DJ LeMahieu, Aaron Judge, Gleyber Torres, Gary Sanchez, Brett Gardner. Brett Gardner might be the worst hitter in this lineup. Brett Gardner. What? Urshela, Andujar, Tauchman, Voit, the rotation, Tanaka, J.A. Happ, Garrett Cole. This is a really good team. A really good team. They're right up there with the Dodgers, right up there with the Astros. They are one of the best teams in baseball. They could have an MVP hitter, Cy Young starter, and the best reliever in the league. All those are within the New York Yankees ceiling. Aroldis Chapman, Garrett Cole, and pick the poison in the lineup. Could be Judge, right? Could be X number of players win the MVP. Could be Torres. Could be anybody in that lineup, it feels like, for the New York Yankees. And the fact that there's this much talent here, and yet Yankees fans probably aren't going to be sure are going to go to the World Series is surprising, because the Yankees are used to, when a team is this good, making the World Series. Now, imagine if they had Severino on this team. I could seriously sit here and make an argument they're better than the Dodgers. A lot of people thought they would be better than Dodgers with Severino. You take away Severino, it kind of evens itself out. But would you take Garrett Cole over Clayton Kershaw? I think you do. I still think the Dodgers are a better team. They're also in a weaker league. So I think that the Dodgers will be able to pick up more wins this season than the New York Yankees. The Yankees dealt with a lot of injuries last year, already dealing with some injuries, but I think they'll be healthier this year. It's hard to not be healthier than they were a year ago. I think 88 wins is the absolute floor. I really don't see 88's even difficult to see. Because is Chapman going to have a horrible year and walk a lot of people? I mean, is Garrett Cole going to be overpaid and lazy? I guess. But even if those things happen, they're still really good. I don't really see a horrible year coming for the Yankees. 88 the floor for sure. And to me, 110 wins is the ceiling. Garrett Cole comes in, clicks. Aroldis Chapman has one of his best years. And there's an MVP in the lineup somewhere. Those three things happen, you're going to win 110 games. With the type of depth they have, the fact they get to play the Orioles, it's a really good ball club. Really, really good ball club. Absolutely loaded. Last year, too, to pile on with the injuries, they were also 18 and 19 in one-run games. So they were a team that wasn't successful in one-run games. What if they turn that around, too? It should certainly be a 110-win team. Could certainly be a team that wins the World Series. So I have them finishing, where do I have them finishing? Well, 104 and 58. First place in this division. Meaning my AL East, as it stands, Yankees 104 and 58, Red Sox at 90 and 72, Rays bump them up to 86 and 76, Blue Jays at 82 and 78, Orioles at 60 and 102. So the reason I bumped those up is because this is my full, so what I did is I predicted every division one by one. I didn't look at the win totals because in baseball, there are so many wins to go around, and those wins need to be even if you're going to do season projections. And so I went through everybody. I just kind of took a look at how standings tend to work out. I gave my predictions, and I only ended up 15 games off. So I added a few wins in the AL East, and I added a couple wins randomly throughout the rest of the divisions so that my wins were even with my losses. And that brings me to what I'm about to deliver to you, which is the full Major League standing predictions from me. I spent a lot of time on this. I hope you enjoy it. The wins and losses, this is within the realm of possibility. There's exactly the same amount of wins as there is losses. This is one of the potential outcomes for the standings of Major League Baseball. I used Pacoda projections. I went through each of the team's lineups and bullpen and history and record in one-run games and general articles and team articles, and I watched a lot of television. It's been a long process to get to these predictions. Horrible thing about that is I will probably end up being wrong on a lot of them. That's how predictions work in sports. But let's go through all the divisions, okay? Starting with the AL East. 1 Yankees, 104 wins. 2 Red Sox at 90 wins. 3 Rays at 86. 4 Blue Jays at 82. 5 Orioles at 60 and 102. In the American League Central, I have the White Sox being a surprise team, winning the division at 91 and 71. I think the Twins had a lot of things go right for them last year. Will they all go right again? Will they have that much pop in their lineup? Will Donaldson be Josh Donaldson, or will a move to Minnesota kind of hamper things? We usually see that with power bats where they're not as good as you expect them to be. Twins higher ceiling than the White Sox, but I'm predicting the chaos outcome in this division where the Twins fall off, lose a lot of one-run games. They finish at 88. White Sox at 91 and 71. Twins at 88 and 74. I think the Indians trade some pieces middle of the season. I think Frankie Lindor, if they don't get this deal done, might be out the door. They finish at 81 and 81. Then the Royals and Tigers bringing up the rear in this division at 62 and 55 wins, respectively. AL West, I think Houston, listen, you're getting hit by pitches this much, it's going to infuriate them. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be mentally challenging. And I had an interesting conversation. Well, can you really band together as a team if you all knew that you're guilty for what everybody's accusing you of? I'm like, yeah, they're men. They're proud. Listen, you can do something wrong and still think you're a great baseball player. You can cheat and still think you earned that title. And I think all those Houston Astro players still think they deserve the ring they won, whether they cheated or not. And so the fact they're getting hit by pitch by players who they also believe would have participated in this type of thing, the trash can banging, had they been in the Houston locker room, it's going to tick them off. I think it's going to bring the Astros together. I think they win 101 games. I think Oakland finishes at second in that division at 86 and 76. The Angels, I hope they're better than this, but I see them finishing at 84 and 78. It's going to all be up to how much Ohtani is able to pitch and how good he is on the mound. The Rangers, a lot of good names, but 79 and 83. The Mariners bringing up the rear in the AL West at 63 and 99. In the National League East, the Braves, this is a surprise by the projections, not a surprise if you look at the standings from last year. I have the Atlanta Braves at the top of that division, 92 wins. The Mets at 91. The Nationals, I think they're going to fall off. World Series, they won it. They partied. Absolute surprise. So much went right through the end of that season. I think they fall back to 84 and 78, miss the playoffs. Phillies at 83 and 79. That is an abject failure for how much money they have spent, and they will have to reevaluate how they run their organization moving forward. Marlins at 59 and 103, round out the bottom of the NL East. NL Central, I have the Reds finally being back to relevance and winning their first division title since 2012 with 91 wins. The Cardinals, to me, wild card team at 88 wins. Brewers, 85 wins. Although the more and more I look at the Brewers roster, the less sure I am about this. They were the luckiest team in baseball, a comparison to the Pythagorean win-loss. We'll see, though. They have Christian Yelich in the middle of that lineup. They can certainly hit the ball. Cubs, I think, are going to sell some pieces, specifically Chris Bryant, maybe others, go 81 and 81 this year. Pirates will round out the back end of the division, 63 and 99. By the way, think of all the names the Pirates have had in their roster that are current, relevant Major League players. Garrett Cole was on this team. Garrett Cole was a Pittsburgh Pirate. I mean, I was talking about it with one of my buddies that used to work within the organization for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And think about this. McCutchen, Josh Harrison, Pedro Alvarez, Charlie Morton, Marte, Polanco, Russell Martin, Mark Melancon, and Garrett Cole. Add all those players to the Pirates right now, they're a playoff team. They're a playoff team. But they're all gone, and Pittsburgh's relying on absolutely nothing at PNC Park. That's why the Pirates have been one of the most struggling organizations throughout baseball since, like, Roberto Clemente. NL West, Dodgers, top of the division, 110 wins. Rest of the NL West, below 500. D-backs, Padres, D-backs at 78, Padres at 76, Rockies at 75, Giants at 62. There's some potential in the D-backs, the Padres, and the Rockies. There's some interest, there's some intrigue to me with the Diamondbacks, but I just don't see it. Same thing with the Padres, same thing with the Rockies. The Giants, it's a bunch of cool names. They're doing a little victory lap for the 3 World Series they won, and just hope that their fans can keep coming to the ballpark. But they are a cross-them-off team in terms of the World Series. Those are each division broken down. Now let's go into the playoffs. Here are the rankings, just so you're sure again. Here's the American League playoffs. Yankees at 1, Astros at 2, White Sox at 3, Red Sox at 4, Twins at 5. So the way I have this set up, that means the White Sox will play the winner of the Red Sox and the Twins. I think that'll be the Twins. They play the White Sox in a series, Yankees and Astros. Well, the Twins will play, I'm sorry, it completely messed that up. The wild card team plays the 1 seed. The Astros play the White Sox. I think the Astros handle the White Sox in a 5-game series. I think the Yankees handled the Red Sox or the Twins. I think it'll be the Twins. That's a Yankees-Astros American League Championship Series, and I think the Astros win the American League. Listen, I think they're going to be really ticked off. I think this is a really good ball club. I think we're all overblowing this entire thing. I think we're going to look back at the end of the season, and the Houston Astros will still be really good. I could be wrong. I saw the stat about all those breaking balls that the Astros were able to get contact on against Clayton Kershaw. Maybe the cheating mattered more than I've said it mattered, but I still don't think so. And I think it's important to baseball that the Astros are relevant, the Astros are competitive, that the Astros are one of the best teams in the league. Why? Because they're a villain. Everybody hates them. Everybody wants to throw at them. That's going to galvanize Houston around the team, and that is going to make the rest of Major League Baseball absolutely hate this team. Them being good could really save baseball in terms of national spotlight throughout this year. So I think the Astros win the American League. The National League playoffs, as I have it, Dodgers, Braves, Reds, Mets, and Cardinals. I think the Cardinals win a one-off game against the Mets. The Braves play the Reds. The Dodgers play the Cardinals. I think the Dodgers end up coming through the National League. The Mets are the only team, to me, that could maybe grab the Dodgers in a series. The Braves don't have enough arms. The Reds, maybe if everything works out, would have enough arms, but it would really be a surprise if they can beat the Dodgers. The Mets, to me, match up really well, though, with the Dodgers. They can go pitcher for pitcher. Their ceiling in terms of their rotation is right there with Los Angeles, and pitching is what matters in the postseason. So I have a Dodgers-Astros World Series. Why? Because that is how the universe works, baby. The Dodgers and Astros, two really talented teams, been yelling at each other, been arguing, and all we've been talking about is the last time those two teams met in the World Series in 2017. And it would be some sort of justice in the universe if they got to meet in the World Series. And it would be justice for either side. Why? Because whoever wins the series feels like they're vindicated. If the Dodgers win it, they say, look, you didn't cheat, we beat you, we're winners. And we'll take the 2017 title on a technicality too. While the Astros, if they win it again, this time not cheating, against the Dodgers, well, that's universal justice for the Dodgers complaining and moaning, even though their best player batted 145 and made a throwing error in the series. So much fun in that type of World Series matchup. It'd be a little bit poisonous, but there's nothing wrong with a little bit of venom. Builds up a little bit of hype. Dodgers, Astros in the World Series, and I think, buckle your seatbelts, I think the Houston Astros win the World Series. And that will be great for baseball because then they'll have a supervillain. Because, man, they cheated, got away with it, won that ring. Then they stopped cheating, still beat us. Now they feel smarter than everybody. Dusty Baker also gets a World Series. That's a really cool story. And now it's going to split baseball even more, and it's going to be these factions, and people are going to be arguing, and people are going to hate the Astros, and it's going to make them want to tune in next year. I think the Astros win the World Series in 2020. That's my prediction for the Major League season. A lot of fun going through this, subject to change throughout spring training if there's some injuries or some really bad news or big giant trades. I doubt I'll change it, though. This feels like my predictions for the 2020 season. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Give us a follow on Twitter at GSMC_baseball. Find all the other podcasts on the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Lukas Moore. Thank you so much for listening. This has been the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.